It's not going live. Just keep your face going.
Now it says
Hear
we're
me,
live.
Donna?
We are live.
Hi, guys. Hi, Donna.
Hi, Michelle.
What you doing?
Nothing, just hanging out with you.
I miss you.
I miss
That's why
you
we
too.
decided to do this. Is why we decided to do this, huh?
Right.
I think that this is a great way to kick off our programs. We're going to be doing our programs weekly. So there will be 4 people doing a weekly show. And you're my very first guest.
Well, thank you. I'm honored.
That's because you're the best guest I could have. Remember last Halloween?
Vaguely.
Well, I know it's been a hectic year, I guarantee that. But do you remember last Halloween when we were all excited about celebrating and the Day of the Dead and Halloween and doing all our good stuff?
Yep.
And look at us now. For those of you that don't know, Donna has been caught up working from home. Has nothing to do with COVID. So let's get that right out there on the table.
Thank you.
Right. But she does work from home for Resident Essentials. And she's agreed to come on this beautiful Halloween day or day before Halloween to do readings.
Yep. So if anybody's out there, send in your question.
Do you think this is probably one of the days that people most want to connect with people on the other side?
Most people think that it's easier to connect this time of year with those on the other side because they feel like the veil is thinner. But, it's a matter of belief, which is, I like to talk about limiting beliefs because I believe it's a natural state of being and we can connect anytime once we learn how to get out of our own way.
Well, that's kind of the problem, don't you think?
Right. In fact, when I was preparing some notes earlier, they're like, what is the one thing holding us back? And it was fear. Fear of success, fear of failure, fear of judgment. So
I just had that conversation.
Right? I'm like, judgment from whom? Who set those standards? Who made those rules? Who put us in that box? Right? We do it to ourselves.
It's always such a pleasure to co-teach with you with Spirit Circle because I think we bring a really healthy balance on our way to get people to expand. So I'm looking for the time that you'll be returning to co-teach with me. I'm sure everybody else is too, because people don't realize how important it is to have a healthy balance of concepts and ideas and strategies.
And sometimes we're like on opposite ends, and that's perfectly fine because I don't want anybody to believe what I believe because I believe it. I want them to question why they believe what they believe, which is really tough.
Well, and if I have to convince you that I'm right, it's only to validate my own beliefs. It has nothing to do. So I don't like trying to convince people that I'm right because I know what my truth is. And making people believe me is kind of dogmatic and Piscean in thought process.
Well, because they're in a different space. They're having a different journey. And so what works for you isn't going to work for them because they have a totally different experience. And there is no right or wrong, because I might believe something today and in 2 years I'm going to say, no, that doesn't work for me anymore. I've moved on, I've grown. So, you know, right?
I needed to unlearn.
We're still evolving. And the more you know you don't know. Did I say that right?
Yes, because how many people, this business is it's filled flush with a lot of ways of coming at our work. When you get somebody and you take a class, and everything that they say in that class is so amazing and powerful, and it enriches you. And then you walk away and you remember maybe a third of it.
Mm-hmm.
So training has to come in. And in that training is studying. And people forget that they are the ones that need to study. They need to read. They need to research so that they come into more power with their beliefs. Because just if I tell you, meditation is good for the soul, so is chicken soup. I read the book.
Oh.
So I guess, yeah, it's one of those things. It's a struggle for everyone.
It is, and that's why I really want people to ask themselves why they believe what they believe. And I want them to use their own experience, their own connection to validate and verify if that is true for them.
Have you ever found it, it's a bit frustrating when people and they want to talk to you as a psychic or as a medium, and they, going back to your limiting belief statement, limit the experience because they can only see it happen one way. And then they don't believe that it's happening because they only see it happening the one way. So what do you tell your clients when they're kind of stuck in the, it looks like this when it could look like this?
Well, that's part of why they have to go and do their meditation and their homework of why do I believe what I believe? And I always have the story of Grandma and the ham, where she cut the ends off the ham to bake it every Christmas. So, for the next 40 years, the whole family's doing that. And they're going, why? Somebody finally said, why? And Grandma said, because it didn't fit in my pan. They made it into this big dramatic thing when it was simple. It just didn't fit, so we have to cut the ends off or the world will end, or there'll be an earthquake in China, when it's
That's
simple.
a great story.
It's as simple as it didn't fit. So why are these traditions passed down, right? I don't know. So we have to ask why, instead of just going, I don't know, and doing it.
Well, I have to say, it reminds me of when my kids both, Tanya had moved down to Phoenix with Justin, Lance had moved in with Antoinette. Everybody's happy. Everybody's pregnant. And it was Christmas. And I was alone with the dog in the house. And my son comes over. It was the week before Christmas. He goes, where's the tree? I said, I don't need a tree. Well, Grandma had a tree even though she lived alone. I says, yeah, but I want to clean up. I said, well, I know that on Christmas Day, the tree is dead. It's driving me nuts. So while you kids are playing with your toys, I'm ripping the tree down. I can't handle the dust and so why put one up? So I go to work. I came home. He put my tree up because it needs to be that way.
Yeah. And change can be very hard.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us don't like change, which is why Spirit's always like pushing and forcing us because we're like, maybe tomorrow. We just don't like change. We like our comfort zone.
So we need to invite people to ask a question, or I'm going to start asking questions, and I don't know if anyone wants to know what I'm going to be asking.
Is anybody watching? Is Jeannie telling you? Is anybody typing anything in?
Anybody typing anything in, Jeannie? You got Jeannie in the ear. Lori's on, and she wants a card about the new position at work.
Okay. Lori. So it's about time that she does get a new change. How do you say that? It's time for her to move forward. And she has more than one option. So I think it looks positive for her. And even if she doesn't get the position that she wants, I feel like a monetary increasement will come. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does, because I know her circumstances, so I'm going to say it does, but I'm going to bet that she's going to want a little bit more, so we'll let the feed go for a few minutes and see what she types in
Okay.
while we're waiting.
And it takes a few minutes. I tell people if there's a delay, because 3 minutes later they're like, you missed me, and I'm like, I didn't see you yet. So,
you haven't come up yet. Beware. So while we're waiting for here's another one. Go ahead. She already got the new position. She wants to know if it will move to a lead position.
yes.
Yes.
Especially, I think the financial part is her main goal.
Oh, good. Okay. Hang on. There's another question. Who would like it? Francis. Yeah. Brother Francis. He just wants a card.
Okay. So when people say, I just want a card, I ask what they need to know, most importantly. And they're talking about gratitude, celebration, abundance. And so to me, that means there's just no other way to put it except joy. I feel joy. And he is an expression of joy. So, and he is loved. And I have goosebumps. He has a very, very close connection, a very protective energy around him. And his message is, you are loved and you are a joy.
He is. Good. I bet he'll appreciate that.
And I have to apologize. They're working on the road. They weren't when we started.
Right. Hang on. I got another question.
Okay.
Jeannie wants to know what she should be doing with her life.
Wow.
I know.
She wants me to solve her whole life.
Did we not talk about a Halloween review here, Jeannie?
She has to follow her passion. She has to do what feeds her soul. And when I was writing my notes, I know this is crazy, but I was told to tell, and this is probably for Jeannie, that the future, let me be very clear, the future is in constant motion. We can't predict our future. We can guess how our future is going by the energy and intention that we're setting out. But every time we make a decision or choice, or even if we decide not to make the decision or choice, it changes our future and how we interact with the energy. So she's supposed to do what feeds her soul.
Did you get that, Jeannie? Thanking you.
Because
You know,
she's worried about the future.
I think in fairness, I think everybody is. This has been, we all know, because the astrological signs are all there. We all know that the energy is really intense. Winter, coming into winter is always hard because you're putting things to rest. So I think that probably this year, more than any, because the economy and everything, people are kind of going, do I matter? Is what I'm doing counting? What do I do? Because they're looking to create the light for others. So I think that what you said should stand for every one of us as well, is you can't go wrong following your heart.
Right.
I can tell you that sometimes you get bruised, you get a few bumps, but you'll have no regrets.
Well, not everything is going to be easy.
Right.
Or we'd be bored, and would it be worth doing?
I could do with some boredom.
Well, that's you not using the energy available to you because
That's
you want to do
okay.
it all by yourself.
I'm okay. So I'm okay doing it in the quietude of the house and kind of chillaxing. I'm very blessed because I have a center full of some of the most amazing people that ever walked through my life. And so being bored hasn't been a problem. Being frustrated, sure.
Yeah.
Bored.
But it makes it worth it. It makes you put in the extra effort.
So what are you thinking about doing for your Halloween review tonight?
I'm just gonna have a quiet night.
I mean tomorrow night. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go look at the moon and take a moon bath.
Yeah, but our review is when we go back into the Akasha and we have the ability to start looking at what we want to bring into balance for the next year, and we start reviewing what we've brought into balance up to this moment. So if you had your crystal ball in front of you right now, I'm sure you do, it's somewhere on that desk, I know.
It's right there.
If you had that, that you could say, poof, this is, if I could ask you, what would have had to have happened this next year for you to look back on this coming year to know that it was successful? What would you have liked to see in your own life?
That's a tough question because I try to not look at it on a yearly or annual basis. I try to do it more often. Am I where I should be? Am I doing what needs to be done? Am I feeding my soul? Am I working? So I try to do it more often than once a year because I have been working really hard to let go of all my limiting beliefs and judgments and all of those things that come with it. So I'm working on it being a normal, natural state of being, my connection to spirit, and following and trusting that intuition. And you're like, now you're being the opposite of me again.
No, I think that what you have is what I'm hearing you say, that through the time that goes, whether it be the next minute, 5 minutes, week, year, doesn't matter. You're just working at deepening your connection, and you're not looking at it as a goal
Right.
for the year. You're looking at it as a process, and that's called spiritual living.
Perfect. And I think that I do that because when I first started and joined spirit groups where we did readings, there were so many rules, and I would just be in the moment. And for example, I met a lady and I said, I have a man here, and I gave her a message. And then later, someone took me aside, someone of authority, and said, you can't do that. He's only been gone for a week. And I'm like, I didn't ask him. He just told me to give a message to this lady, and she really needed it, and her grandson. I didn't ask him how long. I didn't set any rules. I was here to communicate, and so I did.
But I think that part of once we leave this plane of existence, we're not dealing with, gosh, it's 12 noon, time to eat lunch. We're dealing with everything happening in synchronization, in balance, in the multiverse, in the infinity. And we don't have those beliefs. But, I was taught sometimes when we pass, we go into the sleep state and we rest. And wait a minute.
I know.
When you go into the sleep state, it's like going through the birth canal. Okay, you're being rebirthed into another energy. So instead of looking at, and you have to use 3D words to describe something that's probably indescribable. So somebody goes into the sleep state. Well, you sleep at least 8 hours. So you have a concept that there has to be a time. But when you're not in a linear time experience, there is no set time. So what could be 6 months for us is like
the blink of an eye.
Well, it's like having that 5-minute labor pain. Okay, I'm through. Because remember when we went to go over to see what's his name, the physical medium in Santa Fe? Lance passed, and he was new over there, but he was still able to come through and still able to talk to me, hold my hands. If I had thought that he was going to be in the sleep state for 5 years, I would have missed that opportunity.
Exactly.
Because I would have put the kibosh on his experience, because it wouldn't have coincided with mine. Whereas, honey, after that boy was dead, I was yelling at him the next day, just like I had seen him the day before, which I had. But that's, we have those things, that the rules, which is that dogmatic belief, which is why I miss you so much.
Well, because there's no time on the other side. We measure time here by the Earth's rotation. So I just looked at her and said, don't put me in a box.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be in that box with so many rules and do the hokey pokey, because this is, to me, is a normal, natural state of being, that connection to spirit. And that's why, because we are spirit having a human experience. So I've been working really hard to stay in that connection. And, they're like, yeah, but you have to set boundaries. You have to do, I'm like, that's what my spirit team does. If I can't change the earthquakes and tsunamis and all of those natural disasters, I said, don't tell me them anymore. I don't want to know, because I can't do anything. So those are my boundaries, right?
Well, and I think one of the things that's really, for me, and just from my experience, is that when I was told this is all you can be, I rejected that concept. So many people, when they go to get trained and they go, that's why I love teaching with you, is we don't tell them they can only do it one way.
Right.
It's about, you pick up a book. If it means so much to you that you have to know, you'll pick up a book to find the information. you'll ask for a teacher who'll give you the information. And that teacher could be a nice little old lady at the 7-Eleven who needs some help pumping her gas. Okay? It could be anyone. But we set up these rules that only certain people can share information with us, and they must be, and trust me, I mean, I've taken some amazing classes, but the classes that cost $1,000 are no different than the ones that I learned from the little kid who told me, well, why do you look at it that way? Because I'm getting the teaching. It's the reception that we forget to open up to.
Right.
You know, it's the, you know, and I teach doing the metaphysics. Sometimes I get a little frustrated because I'm like, okay, so all you want to do is be a psychic. Then don't ask me what this means or what that means. You have, if you want to be a psychic, ask yourself. Ask what it means to you. And listen for the answer. The first person you should be trusting is you.
But it's easier, and I take no responsibility if I say, tell me.
Right.
Which is part of the issue, right? You have to be open and ready to receive, to move forward, to step out of your box. But it would be easy if you just said, oh, tell me what to do. What do I look for? What are the signs? But it's a process.
You're cracking me up because the other day I was the reader for the day. And this guy walks in and he's like, I want a reading. So we went into the reading room and I'm sitting there and I'm like, you know, he was set up. He had his energy just like, you're not coming in. I said, you know what? I don't think I'm the one that needs to read for you. Let me get Alexa. So I got Alexa and I said, hey, Alexa, do you want to try this guy? You know, he's really blocking me. So she came and she read for him as best as she could, but he blocked her too. And he didn't like anything that anybody said. So he comes out and he goes, well, my mother was able to get names, dates. You guys must really be bad. And I said, no, your mother was open to hear what was to be said. You had already made up your mind. We weren't going to be able to tell you. So why bother trying? I'm not here to prove it to you. I'm here to help if you need help. I'm here to help bring out any information you want brought out. But I'm not here to prove to you, and I didn't charge you, so we're even. You're good. Find somebody that you want to hear the information from. That's all I can tell you.
Well, people like to test you. It's prove it to me. And I did a reading yesterday and I said, well, I don't know what this means, but I'm just going to say it. Okay. And I see a landscape and it looks like a building, but it might not be, but there's towers on either side. And that makes no sense. I'm like, that's okay. Write it down. And then I said, when I was done, don't call me at 2 a.m. And sure enough, at 6 a.m, because she thought that was reasonable. I'm not up at 6.
Right.
But she said her mother went to visit her aunt who is crossed over. So she's at the cemetery and she took a picture. And in the back of the background was exactly what I had described. So she just kept saying, no, you're wrong. No, that doesn't make sense. And I'm just like, this is what they're showing me. And she goes, well, what does it mean? I said, it means she was there. She is there with her. She is there with you. She was providing evidence, because why else would she show me that? Because I always ask, show me something that they did this week that I wouldn't know, that I wouldn't find on Facebook.
Right.
Because there's so much information. I said, tell me something to help her validate this. So sure enough,
Well, and the other end of it, I would assume, that some of the things that is frustrating is that we come into this world and when I was a kid, I didn't have any judgment. I remember taking Chloe Rachel Galloway's class. It was a writing class. She's a great author. She wrote a great book about her journey. It was called The Soulful Child. And she's giving this class and she says, write about the last time you remember coming from a place of non-judgment where you had no opinion about anything. And so I really thought about it because, you know, that's kind of, you're put on the spot. So the first thing I go back to is this experience that I had as a child. And I wrote the story. I won't tell, I'll tell you privately, but I'm not blurting it out on the line here. About a childhood memory about I watched my mother do something and I was like, gosh, this is what she's doing. And it didn't have any emotional judgment because that's where judgments come, is from our emotions. Good, this must be good or this must be bad. And so I read this story and this woman was like horrified. She's like, you just haven't healed your stuff. And I'm like, it's my story about a place of non-judgment. And I thought about it and I thought, you know, I must really write well for her to have gotten that upset. So for her, she decided that it was a horrible story. For me, it was like, yay! Feel what I felt and see what I saw. And you had your own emotion attached to it, even though I didn't. So it's one of those things as a kid, you played. You didn't say, well, hopscotch is bad, I'm going to fall on my knee.
Right.
There was it was hopscotch. Remember Chinese jump rope?
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. Oh, here comes Janet. She's going to talk with us about the ancestors. So we're going to switch gears here. She's known as iPad.
Do you want me to hang up?
No, stay and talk with us about the ancestors because it's Halloween. And are you, Janet? We see you.
I know. I'm changing my name
Don't
instead of
change it.
iPad.
You don't have to change your name.
It would be nice.
You can change it later.
It's done.
You're so
Okay. It's
so
done.
we
That's
were
right.
talking about non-judgment and judgment and fingers, and they're watching this.
Yeah.
You want us to see her fingers.
Hi. So we're switching gears to talk about ancestors because Janet's our go-to gal for the ancestors. What are you going to do for Halloween with the ancestors?
For Halloween, what I'm gonna do, I already have it set up. I already have an altar set up, and usually I cook certain foods for ancestors, whatever their favorite foods are. And then I set up flowers and fresh water on a nice, cloth for the ancestors.
Is this for tomorrow night?
This is tomorrow night, and then also another one for the Day of the Dead also.
Oh, okay.
So one day would be for children that had passed away. So it's like little candies, little, one for the children, and then another one for the adults that had passed away.
So you do like offering here for the kids and offering here for the adults and a feast for everybody.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so talk to me about, I know I'm going to pick your brain because everybody differently, and I always get fascinated by everybody's approach to it. Chime in, Donna, if you have a question. When you're doing this for Halloween, okay, what is it? Is there like a certain prayer you say, or is there a, do you start at sunset and end at 2 in the morning? You know, what is your ceremony or your preparation, if that's not too personal to ask?
No, first thing in the morning, I start in the morning. I acknowledge the ancestors. I give thanks.
Is it every day, or we just, because we're just talking Halloween? We haven't
Yes,
got to
I do it every day, but I also am going to do this on Halloween.
Okay. Okay.
I do it on Halloween. I will. Yes. Yes, I do this every day, but I also, we'll do this on Halloween. You wake up in the morning, you do your, give thanks and start off the day with just a simple, cup of coffee. For, I wish I could drink coffee, but a cup of coffee for the ancestors.
Did you give it up for a minute and just kept going?
No, it just doesn't agree with my stomach right now with the healing process. So, but I love the aroma. I'll just cook it just for the aroma.
We'll go have a picnic outside of Starbucks for you.
No, so I start off the day like that, and then throughout the day, I do a simple, just gratitude in the morning, and then towards the afternoon. I liked it because it's Halloween. I like to do it towards the evening as the sun is coming down. And then I will, make a meal specifically for them, not for me, for them, not a big feast, just small amounts, but just for them. Their favorite food. So basically it would be Filipino food.
But what about the Irish family?
They just got to deal with the Filipino food. Because mainly it's, when the tradition that we come from, the cultural that we come from, the Filipino side, it's basically doing, we honor them, but we also honor them for several days, after Halloween into the Day of the Dead. So I'm just learning about the Irish traditions and, all the Irish backgrounds. So I will get in there and learn this. I will learn this.
Because I'm doing the Celtic thing, I invite you over for one of my Celtic feasts to honor my ancestors. How's that?
That sounds fantastic.
Donna, you want to come?
Not a real foodie.
No, it's all good food. We will make sure you have yours too. So let me ask you on the ancestor stuff. How much time do you invest in the morning?
In the morning, maybe 2 minutes. 1, 2. It doesn't take long, so maybe no more than 2 or 3 minutes. It doesn't really take that long.
And for everybody who doesn't know, why do you do it?
I do it to honor the ancestors that are deceased, that are from our family members, to honor and give them light and to uplift them. When they're uplifted, we're uplifted. And without them, we wouldn't be here. So it's a tradition we've been doing throughout our years as a child.
Does your mom do it?
She does it. Yes, she does it also. My dad is kind of like, you can do it.
He's letting the Vikings go. I will talk to
you can do it.
I will talk to Dogda and Danu for him. And Lou, because I did a Lou feast for the ancestors. Lance carried the energy of Lou. So you mentioned altars.
Yes.
Talk to me about altars.
What it is an altar. We have these different altars set up. There's no perfect, there's no right or wrong on any altars that you set up. And this is a place for the spirits to come to, and it's a place that you can just heal yourself with, meditate with, and also a place for them to, a place not for the, for the deceased. It's a place for the deceased. It's more like a little memorial kind of setup thing for them.
Okay, because now we're going to get nitty gritty, because I'm going to pick your brain. Because I know how I set up my altars. Okay, I did all my stuff. I have 2 separate ones. I do my thing. What if someone doesn't really know how to set up an altar? Do you teach them to do that?
Yes, I can teach them to set up an altar. Yes.
Awesome, we just found our next class at RE. How'd you like me throwing you under the bus there, girlfriend?
Yes, definitely. There's as with an altar, there's a difference between an intention and then, like when you come there for spiritual type of healing, there's a difference between, there's differences between altars and different types of altars and different types of ancestor altars, where ancestors, the deceased altars, you're not going to go there, you got to do this for me. You got to do that for me. No. There's a specific way of setting up, different altars that I've been taught.
So do you put their ashes on the altar?
I don't, but it's up to the person. It's up to the person if they'd like to.
Okay. So is there, because I know, again, like I said, I'm picking your brains for the people who may not know. Is there a difference between your prayer altar, ancestor altar, and the Day of the Dead altar?
Okay, prior altar, yes, there's a difference. There's a difference with the ancestor altar. And to me, the Day of the Dead altar is the same as the, you can combine the Day of the Dead and with the ancestor altar, because you're still giving them thanks for the Day of the Dead.
They came through and they opened up pathways for you to come through.
Yes.
Also, because being silly my way, I think I'm my own ancestor, but that's okay. So I think it's also about honoring oneself as that perpetual energy. So do you approach anything like that in your altar? In your either the Day of the Dead altar or the ancestor altar, or
it just not really. It depends on, what type of altar or what type of, if we're praying for the ancestors, or if you're just doing offerings, or if you're coming for healings, then, it's different how you come and approach it.
okay, so when you do your morning altar and you get up and you give thanks to your ancestor altar, do you take it down or leave it set up until you decide to add a little of this, get some fresh water, or put some fresh flowers, or whatever it is that you change out? Do you take it down every day and put it back up, or?
No. No, I don't do that. What I do is whatever, offerings I give for the day, if it's food, if it's coffee, whatever, offerings I give, or flowers I usually keep for probably about 5 to, till it starts, dying, the flowers and stuff. And then for the food, I usually keep it just for overnight, and then I get rid of it. I don't keep it there longer.
When you get rid of your food, where do you take it?
It depends. I take it outside of the house, and then it's we depends where, sometimes we take it to a corner or a garbage, but outside of the house. And then it's for the other spirits, it's there for the spirits to come to who aren't a part of your ancestry.
So that's just the other dad.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. My ancestors get fed and y'all get leftovers.
That's too funny.
And whatever you guys don't eat, the neighbor's dog or cat gets, right? I'm just joking. You have to have some levity in this work. This is why my team sits there and they go, she's at it again, and they just shake their head. So, anybody got a question that they want to ask Janet about ancestors? Jeannie will tell us. We'll continue.
He's getting a message.
Wait a minute. Jeannie has a question.
We're all.
She wants to know if you have a feast for the living as well this time of year.
A feast for the living?
Uh-huh.
Not on Halloween. No. Not on the Day of the Dead. No. The feast would be like our regular holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, those kind of holidays. Those would be the feast days. But not on the Day of the Dead. Not on Halloween.
She was trying to get it bad.
She just wants some gondole rice.
I'm gonna Janet. Well, and for me, for Halloween, I always had the rule of, because mine as a metaphysician, I come at this a whole different level of how I do it. But it's also because I'm Celtic, I've got Celtic background, not just the Italian, but the Celtic background. There's the Samhain, so there is a feast for me as well, but I plan it to be the ancestor feast. And we all share and meditate and pray, give thanks. And, it's like it'll be, because it's me alone, it'll be just me and my little party and my dinner. And now I'm not cooking any lamb. No.
No, when we do. She taught us what's wrong with the lamb. When we do a feast, for the deceased, we don't touch the food at all. It's specifically made just for them.
Say that again, because the question I just got in my ear just cracked me up, and I've got to ask you. But I want to hear what she does. My jaws drop. Go ahead. Say that again.
Okay, so when we do a feast for the deceased, the food that is served for the deceased is strictly for the deceased. No one touches it. It's strictly for the deceased.
Oh, okay.
So our food is completely separate. It's not the same food that's served for them.
Okay, so Oriana wants to know. She should know this answer. Do ancestors, I think she's I know what she's thinking, which is why I'm laughing, because I know Ariana, and we all do. She wants to know if ancestors exist in the future.
Do the ancestors exist in the future? Of course they do. They continue and continue and continue.
Okay, good. This is where Swanda steps in and says, of course they do, because when you're dead, you will be an ancestor. When you're a mother, you became an ancestor.
Of course.
Yes, but see, the other aspect of that is, as Swanda, as the metaphysician in me is wanting to say, is just because they're an ancestor at this moment doesn't mean that they don't incarnate again. So they come back through. We cycle ourselves back through for higher learning. So whoever's an ancestor to me right now could be a descendant to me while I'm their ancestor.
Yes,
Yes.
because we're a soul family.
I know. I was like, yes.
She's like,
No, there's a whole other Wanda conversation on soul family. Because I think y'all are part of my soul. But
well,
no, I
that's
think
right.
that's what Oriana was trying to get at. But you know, when you're trying to type it out on Facebook, it just doesn't come across the same way. And that's why I was laughing. It's like I already knew where she was trying to go with it. So I think, you know, so yeah. Oh, we got another question. Brother Frank.
We're like listening.
I know. Like, I don't hear it.
Okay, Brother Francis wants to know, can or should a person connect with someone else's ancestors or other kinds of ancestral energy?
You're breaking up. I didn't get the question. It froze on me.
Okay, so here's the question. Brother Francis wants to know, can or should someone connect with someone else's ancestors?
Can they connect with somebody else's ancestors? It does happen. It does happen. It can happen. But usually what you want to do is they can connect with someone else's ancestors, but usually you have to do, you know, you want to make sure you have permission before connecting with someone else's ancestors.
Okay, so hold that.
But it is possible.
Hold that thought, because I'm gonna ask for clarification, because when I do a reading or Donna does a reading and somebody like my mother comes through Donna to say hello to me, that's a connection to my ancestor. So in your work, if you needed to do some, let's say I needed some ancestral healing work, and I came to you and said, because I think this is what he's asking, Janet, I've got some ancestor crapola going on, and it's kind of really messing with my world. Can you help me clear that? Is that what you can do?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the permission, right?
Yes.
Okay. In what instance would that, if I needed what would promote that healing work? In other words, when would you do that and when wouldn't you do that? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Okay. To do that type of work, I would have to sit down with the client, the person, and kind of come to not an agreement, but it would have to go do a consult first with them to figure out exactly what needs to be done before, just having them come in and then they just want it released. I would need to,
But what kind of, give me an example of what would need to be released? What kind of situation would
attach
someone to you for help with the
okay.
ancestors?
With the ancestors, usually it would be like an attachment where they can't move forward and they feel like something's holding them down, or like a spirit or entity, or leave out the entity, a spirit. Spirit. Like an attachment. An attachment, like an attachment where they can't get clarity, they can't move forward, they feel like they're completely blocked. And it could be, some type of ancestral healing that they need, from an ancestor that passed away. And they need, we just get in there and figure out what it is, that needs to be cleared to clear this path for them to be able to move forward.
What about a curse?
With the curse,
what if one of your ancestors was cursed? Not you, but one of the ancestors. And it would that be a reason to come to you to get help to remove blocks? Would that be
I have had them come to me for that. I have had people come to me for this.
I'll throw y'all under the bus.
Yes, we do this type of work. I just don't want to discuss it on live. But yes, they can come to me for this.
I get that you don't want to discuss it on live. I don't ask for the details of what you would do.
Yes, this can be cleared. Yes.
Okay, because the average person does not always know what it is. So it's just like going for a consult for a reading. Okay, I'm going to throw me under the bus and just use me as an example because I don't want to throw people I don't know under the bus. But if I go to Donna and I'm like, hey, Donna, and she's like, Michelle, you know what? Your mom is showing me this and that and that. And I'm able to work with my mom through her on the mediumship and give healing between the relationships between my mom and I. Of course, my mom and I were very close, so I'm not throwing my mom under the bus either. I'm just doing an example. And if there was a block of upset or tension between my mom and I when she passed, could I go to you to have it removed or settled in a different way?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
We're going to get you all out there to help where I don't.
Absolutely.
Get this stuff situated because I do the work like what Donna does. We talk between the worlds, between the person who passed and the person who's here. And I know that worked very well. I just didn't know if you did ancestral work in that regard.
Yes.
So marvelous, ladies. We are now at, my watch fell asleep. We are now at 1 o'clock. So it is time for us. Anything you guys questions you want to ask each other before we get off? Unmute yourself, Donna.
Oh, I did. I just didn't want you to hear the trucks.
Oh, I thought it was the birds.
No, it was they're redoing the roads.
Well, Donna's going to have a show. Let's tell everybody up front. Donna's going to be doing a weekly show with Resonant Essentials on Tuesdays. Time and dates to start are still being worked through and determined. Janet is going to be doing her healing work here at Resonant Essentials, whether it's with your ancestors or with the energy. So you can always check in with her here. You can find them both on the portal of resonantessentials.com. And they're both able to do work through the portal. So, you know, don't think that they're not available to you to throw your own questions out at them if you didn't get your questions answered today. I love you guys.
Love you too.
Love you too.
I miss you, Donna.
I miss all of you.
I know, I miss everyone.
I'm gonna cry. I miss Donna so much. But I get to see Janet at least. So we will see you guys soon. Have a wonderful Halloween.
You too.
You too.
My heart to all of you guys.
Bye, Tarot Nuts.
Bye,
Bye, guys.
Donna. Bye, Michelle.
Bye.
Bye-bye.